The $10,000 rule. Why your first $10,000 changes everything. Have you ever opened your bank account and noticed that, technically, you have money, but somehow, you still feel completely broke? Maybe your balance shows $800, $1,000, or even $2,000. On paper, that looks like something. But deep down, you know the truth. One unexpected expense, a car repair, a medical bill, a family emergency, or even a slow month at work, and that money disappears almost overnight, as if it was never there. So you keep doing what you've always done. You keep working harder. You try to save a little more every paycheck. And every month, you tell yourself the same thing: next month will be different. Next month I'll finally get ahead. Yet somehow, every new month feels exactly like the last. Instead of making progress, it feels like you're constantly climbing out of the same financial hole. Then you go online, and everyone seems to have simple advice. Just invest your money. Start a business. Buy assets. Make your money work for you. But you're sitting there wondering, with what money? Because when your entire savings account only holds a few $100s, money doesn't feel like an investment tool. It feels like oxygen. You're not thinking about building wealth. You're thinking about making it through the rest of the week. Here's what most people don't realize. There comes a specific point where money begins to feel completely different. Not because you've suddenly become wealthy. Not because $10,000 gives you financial freedom forever. But because reaching that amount changes something much more important. It changes the way you think. It changes the decisions you make. It changes how you respond to problems. And it changes the opportunities you're able to recognize. There's nothing magical about the number itself. Yet it carries incredible power. Today, I want to explain what I call the $10,000 rule. Because for most people, earning their first $10,000 in savings isn't just another financial milestone. It's the moment they move from financial chaos toward financial control. If you've been working hard but still feel like you're never getting ahead financially, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if this video gives you a new perspective, don't forget to leave a like. It really helps. Most people believe that the life-changing number is $1 million. And yes, of course, having $1 million would completely change your life. That's obvious. But here's what many people fail to understand. Your first $10,000 can transform your habits far more than your next $100,000 ever will. Why? Because moving from $0 to $10,000 isn't simply about increasing your bank balance. It's about removing something much more dangerous: panic. And panic is incredibly expensive. When you have no financial cushion, every small setback turns into a major crisis. A flat tire suddenly becomes credit card debt. A delayed paycheck turns into overdraft fees. A family emergency forces you to borrow money. A job you hate becomes impossible to leave because you simply can't afford to walk away. But once you've saved $10,000, something inside you begins to change. You're still not wealthy. You're not flying first class or buying luxury cars. But you're no longer standing in the middle of a financial storm with nothing to protect you. You finally have something between yourself and disaster. Think of it like putting on a jacket during a freezing storm. Maybe it's not a designer jacket. Maybe it's not the expensive kind that some finance influencers show off while posing in front of rented Lamborghinis. But it's real. And most importantly, it protects you. Let's begin with the psychology behind it. When your savings account is empty, your mind operates in survival mode. Every dollar feels critical. You constantly compare prices before buying anything. Sometimes you avoid opening bills because you're afraid of what's inside. Even spending a small amount of money fills you with guilt. And far too often you say yes to things you don't actually want to do, simply because you need the paycheck. The hidden cost of financial stress. When you're constantly worried about money, you often stay in situations that make you unhappy simply because leaving feels even more dangerous. You remain in stressful jobs. You tolerate toxic work environments. You put up with things you know aren't good for you. Not because you want to, but because the alternative feels too risky. And here's the part many people never talk about. Financial stress doesn't only drain your bank account, it changes the way your mind works. When you're struggling financially, your brain naturally shifts into survival mode. Instead of asking yourself, what's the smartest decision for my future? You begin asking, what can I do just to survive this week? That change in thinking is exactly how people become trapped. They rely on credit cards to cover basic expenses. They accept expensive loans with terrible terms. They continue working for less than their worth. They postpone repairs because they can't afford them today. They ignore small problems until those problems become much bigger and much more expensive. This is exactly why reaching your first $10,000 matters so much. Because it gives you something incredibly valuable. It gives you space. And space may be one of the most underrated financial assets anyone can have. Space allows you to breathe. Space allows you to think clearly. Space gives you enough room to pause and ask, is this actually the right decision? And sometimes, that brief moment of clarity can save you thousands of dollars. Why the numbers matter. Now let's look at the math behind this idea. Imagine two different people. Person A has only $300 in savings. Person B has $10,000 saved. Everything else about their lives is identical. They earn the same income. They have the same monthly bills. They live under the same financial conditions. Then one day, both of them face the exact same problem. Their car suddenly needs $1,200 worth of repairs. For person A, it's a financial disaster. Since they don't have enough savings, they may have no choice but to put the repair on a credit card. If that card charges around 20% interest, and they only make the minimum monthly payments, that original $1,200 repair quietly becomes much more expensive over time. It stops being just a repair bill. Now it's another monthly payment. It's ongoing stress. It's interest charges that keep growing. And it's one more reason why saving money next month becomes nearly impossible. Now look at person B. The exact same repair happens. Do they enjoy paying for it? Of course not. No one walks into a mechanic shop excited to spend money. But for them, it's simply an inconvenience, not a crisis. They pay the bill. Their savings fall from $10,000 to $8,800. Then, over the following weeks or months, they slowly build that savings back up. Same emergency, same repair cost, completely different experience. That's the true meaning of the $10,000 rule. Money doesn't just allow you to buy things. Money gives you choices, and when your choices disappear, life becomes much more expensive, turning emergencies into minor setbacks. Here's something many people overlook. Most financial disasters don't begin as disasters. They begin as ordinary life events. Your car breaks down. Your phone gets stolen. Your landlord increases the rent. An unexpected medical bill shows up. A client pays you late. Your employer cuts your working hours. None of these situations are unusual. They're simply part of life. But when you don't have a financial cushion, everyday problems suddenly feel overwhelming. Normal life starts turning into financial trauma. That's when people begin making desperate decisions. They borrow money from the wrong people. They depend on high-interest debt. They sell investments long before they should. They sell valuable possessions they actually need. They accept jobs they dislike simply because they have no other option. Every decision is driven by fear instead of logic. But everything changes once you've built $10,000 in savings. Emergencies don't disappear. Life still throws unexpected challenges your way. The difference is that those challenges no longer control you. They become temporary inconveniences instead of life-changing disasters. That's the first major transformation. You'll still feel the impact. But the impact won't knock you off your feet. Think of it like a boxer stepping into the ring. If you have no savings, every punch sends you to the canvas. But when you have a $10,000 financial cushion, you can absorb the hit, regain your balance, recover, and keep moving forward. That may not sound glamorous, but it's one of the most powerful financial advantages you can ever have. Why earning your first $10,000 is the hardest step. At this point, you might be thinking, Jack, if saving my first $1,000 already feels impossible, how am I ever supposed to reach $10,000? That's a completely fair question. And the truth is, your first $10,000 is almost always the most difficult money you'll ever save. Not because the goal is unrealistic, but because, in the beginning, you're fighting two battles at the same time. The first battle is financial. The second battle is psychological. You're fighting the numbers. And you're fighting the way you've always seen yourself. If you've never built meaningful savings before, saving money doesn't feel natural. Instead, it often feels like money disappears no matter how hard you try. You finally save $200, then an unexpected expense comes along. You build it up to $500, something else breaks. You eventually reach $1,000, and suddenly your mind whispers, we've done well, maybe it's okay to spend a little. That's exactly why building your first $10,000 isn't simply about saving money. It's about becoming a different person. You have to stop thinking of yourself as someone who's trying to save. Instead, you become someone who protects their financial foundation at all costs. That's a completely different mindset. Here's another truth people rarely talk about. Your first $10,000 isn't built with motivation. It's built with rules, because motivation feels powerful for about a week, maybe 9 days if you're lucky. Then real life shows up, unexpected bills arrive, temptations appear, your enthusiasm fades. That's why lasting financial progress depends on habits and systems, not temporary excitement. Breaking $10,000 into 3 simple layers. Now here's an important shift in perspective. Don't think of $10,000 as one giant pile of money. Looking at it that way can feel intimidating. Instead, imagine it as 3 separate layers. Layer 1. Your emergency shield. This is your first $1,000 to $2,000. Its purpose is simple. It protects you from life's smaller emergencies. A car repair, an unexpected medical expense, a broken laptop, a sudden family emergency. This money prevents ordinary problems from turning into expensive debt. Layer 2. Your stability fund. This usually falls somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000. This layer is designed to cover 1 or 2 months of your essential living expenses. Things like rent, groceries, utility bills, transportation, minimum debt payments. This isn't just financial security. It's emotional breathing room. Knowing you can survive for a while without immediate panic changes the way you think every single day. Layer 3. Your opportunity fund. Everything above your basic emergency savings belongs here. And this is where life begins to change. Once you're no longer focused on survival, your mind finally has room to notice opportunities. Maybe you invest in a professional course. Maybe you buy equipment that helps increase your income. Maybe you relocate for a better career. Maybe you launch a small side business. Maybe you begin investing consistently. Or maybe you negotiate better because you're no longer desperate to accept whatever comes your way. This is the part many people completely overlook. Your first $10,000 isn't only about protection. It's the runway that allows your future to take off. How $10,000 changes the way you work. Now let's talk about your job. When you have no savings, your employer has far more control over your life than they should. Your boss wastes your time. Your schedule changes without warning. Your pay doesn't match your effort. Your workload keeps growing, yet you continue accepting it. Because you desperately need the next paycheck. Without savings, walking away simply isn't an option. But once you've built $10,000, something quietly changes. You don't become careless. You don't become arrogant. And you definitely don't walk into work saying, "Good morning, peasants. Please don't do that." What actually changes is much more valuable. You become calmer. You negotiate with confidence instead of fear. You start looking for better opportunities because you're no longer trapped. You can confidently turn down bad offers, if necessary. You can even survive the period between leaving one job and starting another. That financial cushion gives you something money can't directly buy: confidence. And confidence often leads to higher earnings. Because desperation has a way of revealing itself. People notice it. Employers notice it. And those who negotiate from a position of security almost always have an advantage. How $10,000 changes the way you invest. Clients notice desperation. Customers notice it too. When people sense that you desperately need money, they know you're more likely to accept less than you're worth. But when you have a financial cushion behind you, your decisions come from confidence instead of fear, and that changes everything. Now let's talk about one of the biggest financial mistakes people make. Many people rush into investing before they've built any financial stability. Don't get me wrong. I believe investing is incredibly important. I talk about it all the time. But if you have no emergency savings and you invest every dollar you have, you're setting yourself up for a problem. Because the first time life throws you an unexpected expense, you'll probably have to sell those investments just to cover your bills. That's not really investing. That's simply parking your rent money in the stock market and hoping nothing goes wrong. Unfortunately, life doesn't work that way. Unexpected problems always show up. That's why your first $10,000 is so valuable. It gives you the emotional stability to invest the right way. Once your emergency fund is fully in place, you no longer panic every time something unexpected happens. Imagine the market suddenly falls by 15%. Without savings, your first thought might be, "I have to sell my investments because I need money for my car repair." But with a solid financial cushion, you don't have to react emotionally. You can leave your investments alone, and that's exactly where the real power of compound growth begins. For example, suppose you've already built your $10,000 foundation. Now you invest $300 every month. If you continue investing that amount for 30 years while earning an average annual return of around 7%, your portfolio could grow to more than $360,000. That's an incredible result. But here's the important part. You only achieve that outcome if you stay consistent, and staying consistent becomes much easier when your financial life isn't constantly one emergency away from falling apart. This is where the $10,000 rule becomes so powerful. The money itself probably won't make you wealthy, but it transforms you into the kind of person who has the stability, patience, and discipline to build real wealth over time. And that's the difference that truly matters. The spending trap after reaching $10,000. Now let's talk about something people rarely mention. Saving your first $10,000 can actually create a new danger. The moment some people see 5 figures sitting in their bank account, their thinking suddenly changes. They tell themselves, "I've earned a vacation. Maybe it's time to upgrade my phone. I should finally buy that nicer car. I deserve to reward myself." Now don't misunderstand me. There's absolutely nothing wrong with enjoying the money you've worked hard to earn. Money should improve your quality of life. But your first $10,000 isn't a signal to start spending. It's the foundation of your financial future. Think about building a house. Would anyone spend months building a strong foundation and then suddenly decide, "This foundation looks great. Let's tear half of it apart so we can buy a new couch"? Of course not. Yet that's exactly what many people do with their savings. They finally create some financial stability, and then immediately spend the very thing that made them secure. That's why you need one simple rule. The day your savings reach $10,000, that money changes its purpose. It becomes boring money. It's not vacation money. It's not luxury money. It's not, "I found an amazing deal online" money. It's quiet. It's stable. It's untouchable. And strangely enough, boring money is what allows you to enjoy an exciting life. Because when your financial foundation stays solid, life throws far fewer emergencies your way. How to save your first $10,000. So how do you actually reach this milestone? Let's make it practical. The first step is simple. Choose a monthly savings goal that's realistic. Not an imaginary number you'll never stick to. A number you can consistently save month after month. For example, if you save $250 every month, reaching $10,000 will take about 40 months, or roughly 3 years and 4 months. If you can save $500 each month, you'll reach your goal in about 20 months, and if you're able to put away $1,000 every month, you'll build your first $10,000 in only 10 months. The timeline will be different for everyone. What matters most isn't how quickly you get there. It's that you keep moving forward, one consistent deposit at a time. Now, when you hear those timelines, you might think, that's going to take forever. And yes, it isn't overnight. But here's something worth remembering. Slow progress is still progress. The biggest reason many people never build wealth isn't because they earn too little. It's because they give up before their progress has time to compound. They save consistently for a month or two. Nothing dramatic changes. They don't suddenly feel rich. So they quit. Meanwhile, the people who eventually succeed aren't always the highest earners. More often than not, they're simply the ones who stay committed long enough for an ordinary plan to produce extraordinary results. Consistency beats intensity every time. The second step is to automate your savings. Never wait until the end of the month and hope you'll save whatever money is left. Because most of the time, there won't be anything left. Money without a purpose quickly finds one, usually in the form of impulse spending. Instead, pay yourself first. The moment your paycheck arrives, immediately transfer part of it into your savings account. Even if it's only $50, even if it's $100, the amount matters less than building the habit. Next, separate your emergency savings from your everyday spending account. Keeping both in the same place creates unnecessary temptation. It's like placing a plate of cookies on your desk and telling yourself, I'll only eat these if there's an emergency. Let's be honest, that rarely works. Move your emergency fund somewhere that's slightly inconvenient to access. Not impossible. Just inconvenient enough that you'll think twice before touching it. Another smart strategy is to make the most of unexpected income. Tax refunds, work bonuses, cash gifts, freelance projects, money from selling things you no longer use. Many people treat these windfalls as permission to upgrade their lifestyle. A better approach is to upgrade your financial foundation instead. One unexpected $1,000 payment can move your savings goal forward by several months. Finally, focus on fixing the biggest financial leaks. People love talking about skipping expensive coffee. And yes, small expenses can add up. But the biggest opportunities to save usually come from much larger categories. Your housing costs, transportation expenses, food spending, subscription services, and debt payments. If your rent stretches your budget, if your car payment is too high, or if your favorite food delivery app knows exactly when you're feeling emotional, saving money will always feel difficult. Instead of only cutting the small expenses, start by fixing the biggest leaks in your budget. What to do before and after reaching $10,000. Here's a simple roadmap to follow. Before you reach $10,000, your main objective is protection. Focus on building your emergency fund. Stay away from high-interest debt whenever possible. Reduce unnecessary spending. Look for ways to increase your income. Most importantly, don't try to look wealthy. Focus on becoming financially stable. Once you've reached $10,000, your priorities begin to change. Now you can direct more of your money toward long-term growth. You can invest consistently, learn valuable new skills, explore business opportunities, make career moves, or pursue opportunities that have the potential to increase your future income. But never forget the foundation that got you there. David is still saying, I'll start saving soon. Then life does what life always does. David's car suddenly breaks down. The repair bill comes to $1,500. Without savings, he has only one option. He puts the repair on his credit card. Now that unexpected expense doesn't disappear after it's paid. It follows him every month as another debt payment. Now imagine that Mark faces the exact same problem. His car also needs $1,500 in repairs. The difference? He pays for it with cash from his emergency fund. Does he enjoy spending the money? Of course not. It's frustrating. But once the bill is paid, the problem is over. No credit card balance, no interest charges, no monthly payments following him around. Just an inconvenience. And then life moves on. Over the next year, Mark gradually rebuilds his savings and continues making progress. David, however, is still making payments on last year's emergency. Same salary, same expenses, completely different financial system. Fast forward to 20 months, Mark finally reaches $10,000 in savings. At this point, something much bigger than his bank balance has changed. He's not wealthy, but he has become a different person. He trusts himself. He knows that when he sets a financial goal, he can achieve it. He knows that an unexpected emergency won't completely destroy his finances. Most importantly, he knows he has choices. And that confidence is worth even more than the money sitting in his account. Because once you've proven to yourself that you can save $10,000, saving $20,000 no longer feels impossible. Then investing starts feeling realistic. Building long-term wealth begins to feel achievable. Your first $10,000 destroys one of the most dangerous beliefs anyone can have. The belief that you'll always be financially stuck. Why everything changes after $10,000. This is the real reason your first $10,000 changes everything. Before you reach that milestone, money is mostly about defense. After you reach it, money begins to play offense. Before $10,000, you're constantly reacting to whatever life throws at you. After $10,000, you finally have the ability to plan ahead. Before $10,000, your energy goes into avoiding financial disasters. After $10,000, you can start chasing opportunities instead. Before reaching that point, your biggest question is, can I survive this? But afterward, your thinking begins to change. Now you ask, what can I build next? And that single question has the power to transform your entire future. Because lasting wealth isn't created simply by earning a bigger paycheck. It's built by having enough financial stability to make smart decisions over and over again. That's the hidden strength behind your first $10,000. It creates enough breathing room that your life is no longer controlled by every unexpected expense. Now, listen, I know that if you're starting from zero, $10,000 may sound overwhelming. Maybe it even feels impossible. But every major financial transformation begins with one decision. The decision to stop living one emergency away from panic. You don't have to become perfect overnight. You don't need to save all $10,000 this month, and you certainly don't need to impress anyone. You simply need to start laying the foundation. One $100 deposit at a time. One $500 deposit at a time. One smart financial decision after another. Then, little by little, something incredible begins to happen. Yes, your bank account grows, but something even more important changes. Your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's always struggling to catch up. Instead, you become someone who builds, someone who plans, someone who can handle life's challenges without falling apart, someone who isn't controlled by every bill, every emergency, every paycheck, or every financial fear. That's what your first $10,000 truly gives you. It doesn't make you wealthy overnight. It makes you resilient. It makes you difficult to break. And that's where real wealth begins. If this video gave you a new perspective on money and the importance of building your first $10,000, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps support future content. Now I'd love to hear from you. What's your current savings goal? Is it $1,000? $5,000? Or are you working toward your first $10,000? No matter where you're starting, remember this. The goal isn't to become rich overnight. The goal is to take the first step, stay consistent, and keep building. Because every dollar you save today is another brick in the foundation of your future. And once that foundation is strong, everything else becomes possible.